Yo, Pest Geeks. Let me turn on my AC here because we're in Florida, dude, and it's winter. And it's hot right now. It's 80 something. It's 75 degrees right now in my car. So we're having a heat wave in the winter. Went up to Apopka last week to go at the Pest Management University, the termite, introduction to termite. I'm out of breath. I just got out of the gym. Hitting it hard, bro. Man, it takes about 30 days of trying and failing to get it to become a habit in your life. And you went once, you went twice, you went a week, you quit. It's not going to become a habit in your life. There's the discipline and determination that has to come in, even when you fail. You know, one of the things I love about my Bible is that it says 7 times the righteous man fall, and 7 times the Lord lifts him up. Notice it says righteous man. And I've failed so many times at so many things in my life. And here I am. I still get up. You still keep swinging. You still keep fighting. You still keep going. You don't quit. You don't give up. Never was it in my mind to give up on the gym because history tells me I've done it before. I was successful at it. It's just getting back into it and getting back into a routine where you do it consistently. You do it where you're seeing the results, where you're doing it consistently, and where you are thriving and not just existing. And it's the same way in business. It's the same way in career. It's the same way in life. At first, you're going to do it very badly. And then you're going to persevere and you're going to do it better. And you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall down. You're going to get ridiculed. Everyone's going to laugh at you. Like, what gives you the right? What do you think? You think you're ever going to be something. You think you're ever going to be somebody. And you just ignore all that. And you just keep smiling. And you just keep coming to the gym with your scrawny little butt. And you keep doing it. And that is the secret to doing anything. And when I wanted to start my green pest control business, and I wanted to be better than the crap I was being trained here in Miami to do, which was crap, and the illegal things I was asking to do, I wanted to be, because I've always been in the top 10% of my field, no matter what I did. And everybody discouraged me. Everybody told me it couldn't be done, including the experts in this industry. The entomologist told me it couldn't be done. My supplier, just 2 years ago, I was talking to him about all the things that we were doing. And basically, his answer was, Frank, this is a B&G town and a bifenthrin town. Get over it. And he just walks away. And that's the last day he became my supplier. Do you want to be in the top 10% of the pest control people in this country? You're going to have to stop listening to the crap that everybody's complaining about. I had a discussion. I put out a video on IPM. I hope you listen to it. Hope you watch it. Where IPM is green. IPM is eco-friendly. And the answers from everybody. Here's the two sides of this coin. 90% of people in my group, in my page, responded, and in every page responded, you can't do it because you can't educate the customer, and all the customers want you to do is spray. I'm going to give you the other end of the spectrum. Frank, you're not doing IPM. You're not doing IPM because if you're applying a barrier outside on every single service, you're not doing IPM. You might consider yourself and think you're doing IPM, but you're really not. And then it comes down to when you can't argue with my facts, you start attacking me, and you start attacking the person, and you start basically degrading yourself by trying to take me down. Because the only thing that motivates me is the fact that, number one, I know where I come from. Number two, I know what I'm capable of. And number three, I'm doing it. See, the problem with you is, out there, the guy who knows everything and is criticizing everything everybody's doing, is the fact that you can tell me everything about the size of yours. And you can tell me how it looks. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you can't get it up. Because I'm growing a pest control business on that premise. I've consulted my protocols with every entomologist that I know, every real professional that I trust, and they all agree that that is IPM. Now, is it the IPM that you may be describing that says you got to wait until you use that sticky trap to catch that trail of ants because you're not allowed under a classical IPM program to do an exterior perimeter treatment, or it isn't real IPM, classical technical definition of IPM when it comes to agricultural standards, and when it might come to a specific building that has that specific requirement that says this is how you have to do it in order to qualify for our IPM program, that you must first use that. So you're going to see a trail of ants and you're going to stick a tiki trap in its place. And you're going to wait until that customer calls back in 3, 4, 5 days in order to say, well, let's now use a boric acid bait because it's the lowest toxicity product in the trail. And if that fails and it doesn't control that ant problem, then we're going to move up to another, which is a caution label product, possibly that doesn't have a signal word and that requires no PPE. And we're going to apply the, oh, but wait, that's a pyrethroid. And you've got big-headed ant. And the problem is they make mega colonies. And the reality is that unless you're putting out product outside like bait all the time, and that colony can go on for 30 miles. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we're going to do that with the client. Every client is going to laugh you out. And then what you're saying is, well, then you're not doing IPM. And I said, I'm not doing IPM in that technical way you're describing it. But integrated pest management, if I get this right, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm an idiot, is integrated pest management. That means integrated pest and management is in the word. And if I can, the model that is bottom down on the pyramid, I first have to do the cleanliness part, but the house is completely clean in a residential environment. The house is completely clean. This is $1 million house, which they have maid service. There is no sanitation problem. But they have a ghost ant problem. And you're supposed to caulk it all first. This is a brand new house that is impeccably managed. There is nothing to seal. And where are you going to seal for a ghost ant when you don't even see the trails? So there's exclusion is done. The house is clean. The next is biological. We don't have any biologicals for ant control. The next thing is chemical. So let's use deductive reasoning here. Now I can use a bait inside to control that ghost ant, which is what I do. And I apply the bait in stations. We're not even doing a crack and crevice because, see, if I put a length 2 feet long of crack and crevice to solve a ghost ant problem, is totally useless. Plus, I added a 6% solution of any product along 3 feet, 8 feet of countertop on the top of the edges where it could possibly contaminate the countertop. So I opt for Max Force bait stations with Max Force Quantum and maybe Thickwood. And I put it in these little stations and I leave it on top of the counter where it's not contaminating anything. But that's not IPM because I needed to exhaust all the other efforts because I couldn't use deductive reasoning, which is in this case where Deanie Miller nails it in the head, where she calls it assessment-based. And I assessed all the options, and really the only option is to bait inside. But wait, the ghost ants make their nest outside because that's an outside pest. So I'm going to make a fipronil application to get that knockdown because they're trailing all over the place. And then I'm going to rotate it I'm going to wait 3 months or a month, 2 months, and I'm going to come with another product, and I'm going to treat the exterior perimeter of that home because I know that at 60 days, that customer is going to call me back if I don't make that treatment. And therefore, under classical technical IPM, I'm not supposed to make another application until that customer calls me. So by the 5th call that that customer has made, I have lost that customer to my competition, and then I'm no better than my competition who is spraying and praying. So therefore, what I'm doing is not IPM, and what I'm doing is not greener than my competition that's going to come in, baseboard spray that entire house inside for no reason. They're going to even crack and crevice all that area for no reason, because they can't even determine where the ants are with ghost ant. You can't determine that sometimes with pharaoh ant, or you can, and then sometimes you can't do it with odorous house ant. And baits have been proven to be the most effective thing. So I reduced down to indoor, only treating the indoor, only, listen to me carefully, when that customer has a complaint. But I will every 2 months perform a barrier treatment, 1 foot usually around that property, depending on the species of ant, with a granular bait, treating all the entry points, all the soffits, 1 inch on expansion joints. 1 strip on expansion joints. But that's not green. That's not eco-friendly. That's not even IPM. Then what the hell is it? See, because what happens with you guys is half of you guys have conjured up this idea. You're a legend in your own mind. All I've done is listen to Paul Bello, Austin Frischman, Bobby Corrigan, Dealey Miller, Faith Oy, Philip Kohler. And the list can go on and on and on about the people I listen to. And I read their stuff. And if they wrote a 200-page article and I read it, I can deduce from it and design protocols that are going to be 80% more eco-friendly than 80% of my competition here in Miami. Because according to my supplier, this is a bifid and B&G town. When one of my guys that I was training called the supplier, this other supplier, he says, Dan, that looks like Frank's order, because only Frank orders that stuff. See, I'm in the elite 1%. The reason I went to Pest Management University is because I want to know, first of all, how it's supposed to be done from the entomological perspective. And what I'm supposed to look for. And I want to be trained right from the get-go. Because when I was trained by a guy who told me, you mix 5 products in a tank, you spray everybody with this, and 2 of those products were illegal. I just got a text this morning. This is the stuff that gets me going, guys. This is the stuff that gets me excited. When you criticize me and you tell me that I don't know what I'm doing, all I'm going to do is keep doing what I'm doing and prove you wrong. Guy writes me this morning and says, Frank, I want to thank you so much. I'm paraphrasing. But I've been watching you and what you said, and I haven't been trained. The people don't even want to train me. I'm having to train myself. Because they don't even want to train me. I get at least 1 to 2 of those a week. The reason I do what I do is because the people that are out there, which I keep saying it, aren't educating those people. That guy is never going to make it to a conference. He's going to go probably to a CEU conference once a year and get 1 hour of training, 1 hour of education. Do you think you can be good at 1 hour of education a year? Google Scholar is your friend. Read the material that's out there. Here's the other problem. The educators in this industry say, well, you got to come to my conferences. Let me clue you in on something I just said, people. The average technician isn't going to go to your conference. Number 2, the problem with this industry is that there is such bad training. The problem with this industry, from every educator, every CEU class that I've gone to, where there's a PhD there, where there's an entomologist, Because a manufacturer will never say this at a CEU conference, that you're not giving your people the right amount of time to solve these problems. Why? Because it's usually the same people giving the bad training that is not giving the people the right amount of time to do the right work. Number two is you're selling it low. Number three is you're selling it low. You're selling it so low that there's no way in hell you're going to give your people the right time. So you got bad training, bad information, bad attitude, and you're selling it low, and you're not giving your people the right amount of time to do it. Did I miss anything? I'm sorry. Did I miss anything? So if we know this and we keep doing it, what does that make us? Either stupid or insane or both, because we're not ignorant. Ignorance is not knowing. Stupidity is knowing the hole is there and you keep jumping into that hole expecting that hole to move. So if I want to be the top 10%, I go to the Paul J. Bello seminar. That's why I invested in it. That's why I invested this year $3,000 minimum in my formal education. This is your Pest Geek talking. So now you can't make anybody happy in this industry. Because everybody, 80% of the people have a crappy attitude because you've been trained wrong. You're working for companies that undersell, that it's a race to the bottom. Number three is there's no real knowledge of IPM coming from them. The people that have the training and the education are not putting it out in a way it can be consumed. This is my point. So I am doing videos and some people don't like the way I do them. Here's what I have to say to you. I like the way I'm doing it wrong, according to your opinion, better than the way you're not doing it at all. But I write, well, nobody's consuming your material, and I'm going to prove it to you. Because if you were really wanting to figure out if people were consuming your material, you would have an expert on SEO ranking that material. Number two, you would have an expert on SEO heat mapping that page to see how far people are reading down on that page. What is the bounce rate on that page? How many people have actually visited that page? And how many read more than 70% of the material that's on that page? If you're not measuring it on that criteria, you have a pipe dream. Because you can't prove anybody's reading your material if it isn't ranking. I put out a video yesterday on California. You would think that video should have had 1 million views on it. Yet I will put out one video, and in most cases, in less than 48 hours to less than 7 days, I will have more people watching my stuff than the whole state of California has been managed to get it in 5 years that video's been up. And people say, well, you can't measure it that way. How the hell am I going to measure it? If nobody's watching your material, nobody's consuming it, who the hell are you impacting? Who are you influencing? Yeah, but a lot of the stuff that you say, well, contradict me. Put out your own video and challenge me. Put your money where your mouth is. That's what I'm challenging you to do. Shut me up. Put it in my pipe so I can smoke it. This is what I'm talking about. So there are people in this industry who say, I don't want to be in that position because I can't say anything because I work for the university, I work for the government, I work for a large company. So basically nobody can say anything. Nobody's allowed to teach unless I go to your CEU conference, where 99% of this industry is not going to go, because every time Expo is there, there's only a bunch of owners that go there to network, because really the classes aren't that great. I can learn more from Neil Patel on how to SEO a page than going to your conference and wasting a week. There hasn't been anything that I've gone to that conference that I learned that I didn't already know at Expo, that I already didn't know at Pest World. Not really. Not worth $2,000 of my money, hotel week. And yet you won't put it out so that the average person can buy it. Because once you recorded it and once you got your money, you could sell that for $250, get lifetime access to it, and people will learn if you really have something worth learning from. So basically, every podcast is homogenized, sterilized to death because everybody's afraid of saying something. Nobody can say anything. So I will continue to be a prick, which is a goat. I'm a cattle herder. And I will have the best people in the world on my podcast. Why? Because when you have reach and you have influence, everybody wants to be. See, in the beginning, nobody would talk to me. Nobody would give me the time of day. No, everybody would say, I'm not coming on this guy. Who the hell is he? He's another one of these marketer guys who thinks he's going to be a pest control expert in the industry. Then, hey, man, can I come on your podcast? Sure. Now it's, hey, man, when can I come on your podcast? You see, because, oh, bro, it must be nice doing what you do. Nice my butt, bro. Nice my butt. Because what I did was, when everybody was telling me no, I was writing content. So I got 300 pages on my website. When everybody was telling me no, that you're never going to do video isn't going to produce anything, I've got 175 videos and 100 and something on Pest Geek Podcast. Nice my butt when I spend 4 to 8 to 16 hours a week on this. When I'm asking, having phone conversations to the tune of 4 to 8 hours a week with industry experts. Nice my butt. It's called hard damn work. It's called paying your dues. It's called doing the research. It's called questioning everything. It's called consulting with people that know. So I didn't get the one word right. And what happens with these little guys with little dings that they can't get up is that they know everything about everything, but they're incapable of doing anything. And then they will criticize it because they can't do it. You see, that is where the rubber meets the road. Jeff McGovern teaches the 12 steps and he calls IPM a menu. What you're saying is that Jeff McGovern, who was a technical director who teaches 200 conferences a year, is completely wrong. You're saying Paul Bello, who basically said the same thing I said about IPM, is totally wrong. Alan Feuer, who is recognized in this industry as a leader, who knows what he's talking about, is wrong. And what you're saying is you're right. And what you're saying is you got this negative attitude, I'm going to sum it up, that nobody wants anything because you're in a little town that the average household income is $29,000 a year, and the average home is $90,000 and it's 100 years old, and you're doing an indoor-outdoor service for $35 a month, and therefore exclusion can't be done. Therefore, you can't help educate the customer. Nobody wants eco-green just because you're in a town that's lost. Therefore, that's the rest of the recipe for America. That's the rest of the recipe for the world because you're stuck in your own little bubble. I hope this pisses you off because it should. Because if you're spraying baseboards for a living and that's all you're doing, you're in the bottom 90% of the industry. You're not in the top 10%. You're not the best in this industry. That should sting you. That should motivate you to do something. If you're a spray and pray guy and you think that is pest control, then you're totally mistaken because it's not. And the reason I have to call it eco-friendly and I call it greener because it is. Because that's what the entomology reports say. That's the heading on the documents. That's what Copasan says. That's what the Green Building Council says. And you think they're wrong, and you're right, when you barely can make $250,000 a year in revenue. We got to, cut it out, folks. We got to get real. Let's get real. This is Frank the Pest Geek wishing you a pestacular day.